Way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry! With 0.6 of a second remaining. The brilliant shooting of Stephen Curry continues. Back to Green, into the hands of Spurwell. Fast break down to Weber. He turns. Look up behind the back. And the step and the foul. What a play by Weber.
I've never seen a shooting display like this. Never.
37 and a quarter.
Swing and misses. Curry splits the defense behind the back. Fires a three. Oh, he puts it in. Spectacular move. That could be the greatest move I've ever seen.
Here's Curry for the record. It's good. There it is. Stephen Curry, the all-time three-point king in the NBA.
Fuck it. We'll do it live.
You are in. Where's Huddle with me, Bram, and with me, per usual, my master of all things video and sound magazine. And my boy and producer, MT. Gentlemen, missed you earlier in the week. Recorded with KP on Wednesday, and unfortunately, that podcast didn't have either of you guys. How you been?
Yeah, good. That was a nice episode with KP. It was nice to have her back in the fold. Definitely disappointed that I couldn't join that one, but nice to be on the back of a couple Warriors wins to make up for it.
Yeah, I mean, this is neither here nor there. We got some awards to hand out, but I will share some behind the scenes stuff for you. And I kind of mentioned it during the episode, but I recorded that from Oregon. I had to travel, was in a hotel, and was surprised in the morning by no water. And to be fair to the hotel, as I left, there were signs everywhere letting you know, like, hey, it's just so you got a heads up here. There's not going to be water between this time and this time. And I apparently missed fucking all of those signs. But got up in the morning, couldn't take a shower, had that in particular haggard look that only comes from like not being able to shower, but don't really look, just like do whatever you can. Don't look in the mirror at all. Hit record with KP. And that's the first time the camera pops on. I see how haggard I look. And so there's like a 8 to 10 second silence before I hit record where we look at each other and it's almost an unspoken, you're just going to go with that look, huh? And I did. And we put it in the can. So a little awkward, KP, for listening. My apologies. I don't always look homeless just when there's no showers available.
Shout out to KP for still doing the podcast and not refusing to go on.
Professional. She's like, who are you? How did you get Bram's computer? All right, boys. We've got some weekly Warriors awards to hand out. We haven't done it for a little while, so you can look as far back as you like. I'm going to limit myself to the last 3 or 4 games. And our first award, the Jesus Shuttlesworth for Player of the Week. I got one, but I'll keep it in pocket. If either of you boys want to go first, go ahead and seize the mic.
I'll go first. I'm going to give it to Kevon Looney. I think him being back in the lineup, he's not the most nimble player ever. And when he goes to the rim to shoot a layup, he always does that weird thing where he tries to jump into your body and he releases it about 4 feet below the rim. But his offensive rebounding, just his presence, his experience playing with Steph, to me, it just warrants him continuing to get minutes. I know he fell out of the rotation for a little bit, but I just always love to see Loon doing well. And for whatever reason, when he's in, like our rebounding is a lot more solid. He had those games during our last championship run where we probably don't win the championship if he's not pulling in 20 boards against Sacto and a few other games. So, just shout out to Loon for staying professional, being ready, and now that his number is getting called again, for contributing to some wins.
Dude, it's effortless competency. Like you just know what to expect. He's not going to make any mistakes. You know what he reminds me of, and this is a stupid analogy that will not land, but a Waymo, those driverless cars in the city. They're not sexy. They're not going to go in particularly fast. They're not setting any records, but they're also not making any mistakes. You know, they're not running any red lights. Like, you just know exactly what to expect when you see one. And that's exactly how I feel with Loon. You know, like, there he is out there. He's not going to hit any threes. He's probably not going to go for, 30 and 15, but he's also not going to make any stupid plays. If we have a turnover, it's not coming from him. So yeah, I feel that. Or I'll go second.
I like the Waymo analogy too. I think there are known instances where Waymo will just go into the middle of the street and just stop and block people. So I think it's apropos. There are times when Looney will just come up and set a screen for no reason that is 1000% a moving screen. So, Caban Waymo Looney is his new nickname.
Did you see the video that, it made the rounds, dude? It was all over most of the morning news shows. But the guy who was in a Waymo that just went around in a circle for a hell of long, and he had to literally call the help desk for Waymo and be like, oh, this is not going anywhere. Like, how the hell do I get out of here? That is my nightmare. Like, that's, what do you do? Do you like jump out like John McClane or some shit? Like, what's the move if Waymo's not letting you go anywhere?
Call their customer service, apparently.
Like, at what point does the dizziness take over? How big was that circle? Like, were there other people honking? The amount of social anxiety that scenario would have caused me, I can't come close to telling you. Okay, my guy, Andrew Wiggins. Just quietly, a hell of a season for Andrew Wiggins. His free throw shooting is up. His aggression is up. In the last couple of games, his point total, 24-5 versus the Timberwolves, 31 versus the Wizards last night. And I'll make this both vulnerable and personal. I desperately needed that win. So it's not like it was like game 7 of the finals. Like, it's not even an NBA Cup game. There was no real consequences to last night. But by the time it looked like Jordan Poole was going to put up a 40 ball against us, I would not have taken that loss well. Like, I was really genuinely anxious about the possibility of losing to the fucking Wizards. And without Wiggins last night, that's exactly what would have happened. So my Jesus Shuttlesworth goes to Wiggs. Thank God for him.
Yeah, and he looked great, I think, across the board, right? There was a really sloppy turnover right at the end of the game that kind of made me actually reconsider wanting to give this to him. But he hits the big shots. I think by and large, people make mistakes over the course of the game. And I was really grateful to have him on the squad last night.
Yeah, hell yes. I shout out also to Schroeder. Not Jesus Shuttlesworth material, but he finally had the kind of game we were hoping to see from him. And put differently, one of those off-balance layups finally went in. There's been so many times he's gone to the rack, kind of took a hit, and still got it off glass, and they've all come up short or squirted off the side, and they were finally falling last night with 20. So let's go.
Yeah, there's a beautiful assist to TJD for the dunk that was just like, oh, okay, he's starting to read the offense. It's starting to make a little bit more sense for him. It took him a lot longer than I would have liked, but let's hope that this is the beginning of a trend of him figuring stuff out for us.
Let's go.
For me, I'm going to just give a shout out to Moses Moody, man. Kerr was praising him in the post-game press conference as being instrumental in the win last night against Washington. I'm not going to really get too excited about somebody being instrumental in a win against a team that was 6-22 coming into the game last night. So not a lot to celebrate there, but I just love that he's staying ready. I love that, like every trip down once he's on, if he's not a part of the play, he's on the baseline with his hands out, just ready to catch the ball. It's that energy that I feel like he's been having for the whole season of like, just put me in and I'll be ready to go. He always talks about like, you're just a professional. You never know when your time's going to come up. You got to stay ready. And I think he was great. I think it's really interesting that they're putting him in at power forward. Sure. He's pretty undersized at 6'5" to really be able to handle that load against taller dudes, but he's clearly strong enough to do it. I'm really excited for him. I love his play. It's so solid. We picked him at 14 because we knew that he was going to be a high floor player, not necessarily a high ceiling player. And I'm just excited to see him getting more run. So shout out Moses Moody. Let's hope that this is an indication of the true value of strength in numbers. Keep putting up those shots. And it's a joy to watch him play.
Moody is definitely part of Team Waymo. I feel like there's like after practice when other people are getting shots up, he goes over by Kavan. Is like, here's how we stay steady. He's like, here's how we don't make mistakes. Here's how you keep your floor super high as your career progresses. All right, go to the other side of the coin, boys. The Chris Mills on your team bus asshole of the week. So I got one here, but I'm not even sure who to hand it to, right? So basically what I have is a story that suggests that someone's an asshole, and I'm not sure exactly who it is. So the story is this: details are spilling out of Miami. This Jimmy Butler thing is getting ugly, and now they're looking for a trade partner. And while they're doing that, both sides are seemingly taking little pot shots at one another. So the first thing that came out was that one of the reasons the Heat had to suspend Jimmy Butler for 7 games was because he had been requesting private flights while the rest of the team was taking the charter flight. Butler occasionally asked for a private flight. And this is from a story I'm quoting. So this isn't mine. Quote, NBA insider Jake Fisher reported that Butler had, quote unquote, multiple instances of skipping Miami's morning shoot-arounds and requested to have private flights instead of traveling on the Heat's charter plane. So asshole material right there. But since Chris Haynes also reported on this story and told us that, yeah, that might be true, but when he did it, most of the time he was doing it to visit his sick father, who has since passed away. In fact, we've got that Chris Haynes quote right here.
Chris, after the initial reports were that Jimmy was willing to play anywhere in the NBA, basically outside of Miami, you furthered the story along by mentioning that teams like Memphis and others had been told not to trade for Jimmy Butler. Now, reporting, I believe it's from Mark Stein and Jake Fisher together on this one, talks about Jimmy taking private flights, staying in Airbnbs away from the team. And the story has sort of gotten to this place of talking about the personality and things that locally, some reporters knew down here for years with Jimmy. When you hear all of this stuff start to come out, what are your initial reactions to that?
So I do have some insight from Jimmy's camp and those individuals. And to speak from the flights, I was told that, I had to take some notes here. In the last 5 years, that I was told Jimmy took less than 5 separate flights from the team, and 4 of them were during the finals against Denver when his father was sick. So they're clearly trying to diminish, I guess I should say, the narrative that he was just flying privately and separately frequently.
Chris, after the initial report,
you can cut it right there. So I got some takes on this, but first I got to admit to you boys, watching that question come out even before we got the answer from Chris Haynes, it's kind of like looking into a mirror. I'm kind of concerned about it. I can remember, this is like in junior high, I remember having a hooded shirt that made me feel like it was the coolest thing on earth. And then somebody else wore the same shirt and he looked like an asshole. And it was like suddenly be like, oh no. Yeah. The question that was asked to Chris Haynes there was so fucking long that Chris Haynes lost the track of it, had no idea what he was saying. And that's why he had to come out like, oh, I've taken some notes. That makes me really worried. I feel like I'm doing that all the time with my questions. So yeah, it's like looking in the mirror, dude. It's the hooded shirt thing all over again. But so I don't know who to give the asshole award to. I don't know if the asshole award should go to Jimmy Butler for asking for flights. I don't know if it should go to the Heat for apparently leaking that when the flights or for seeing a sick family member, but there's definitely a Chris Mills on your team bus award in there somewhere. So I'm kind of throwing it into that crowd in general, but it leads to this follow-up. Yeah. Who else in the league do you think could ask for and actually get a private flight? So, I mean, it's kind of a 2-step thing, whose ego would allow them to be like, yep, I'm going to need a private flight for this. We're going to take out the family thing. This is just them asking for it. And then what team would actually give it? Here's my first player for you guys. Wemby. Would he ask for it? And do you think San Antonio would give it to him?
I don't think he would ever ask for it. I think he's just as content to read his 1,000-page sci-fi book in the back of the team charter plane as he is on his own. He's like, it doesn't matter to me where the plane is. So, and I just don't think he's that type of person. He's the type of guy that is trying to orchestrate chess meetups in the middle of New York City, not the type of dude to look for charter planes. That's just not in his DNA.
Yeah, I don't think he asked for it, but the Spurs are one of the top-notch organizations, and I think Buford and the ownership group and Pop offer it to him anyways, and just say, take the flight, go back home. whatever he's dealing with, and insists that he do it. So he doesn't ask, but he still gets it.
I like that a lot. And I think it depends on the order. If he asks, he doesn't get it. You know, I think like Popovich steps in and like, no, this is not how we do this stuff. If he doesn't ask and they're trying to like prop him up into that, you're the best player in the NBA, you know, in the world level, I can see doing that and having some weird answer for it. You know, it's like a hermetically sealed airplane that keeps his legs healthier. I mean, something along those lines. All right, next guy I have for you, LeBron James. Would he ask and would they give it to him now? Okay, not back then, but previously.
He wouldn't ask because he already has his own private plane. I'm not reporting that, but come on. He doesn't need this.
Yeah, I don't think he asks because he's on the flight. He doesn't even ask. He just takes it. And the Lakers figure out a way to spin the PR and just like, yeah, it was all approved by the team. But behind the scenes, they're like, dude, where are you? Texting him nonstop.
If he asks, I see Jeannie Buss giving a press conference to tell him no. You know, like this. I don't know if you guys knew that they made this request, but we're coming out and saying a hard no, Draymond Green at any point. Okay, not now, but at any point while he was here, after the 2015 championship, after 2020, whenever you pick the time, would Draymond ask for it, and would they ever give it to him?
Yes. Yeah, I do think so. It's kind of circuitous. He's definitely not on the same level as Wemby or LeBron. However, this organization is also top notch. I feel like Raymond Ritter, it would be around him. You know, he and Raymond Ritter have been in talks. Draymond's like, look, you know, I'm really excited about this potential TNT signing post-career media thing. And Ritter's all about trying to support the players. So he's like, listen, let's get you on a plane. We'll get you out there. And Draymond's like, oh, it would be really awesome. It would look really good if I could show up on the private flight. So I think it's like in that world of them trying to support one another, that he gets his plan. And I think he would ask for it. He's the type of personality.
Of course he'd ask for it. Fuck yeah, he'd ask for it.
I'm on the other side. I feel like he wouldn't ask for it. I don't know why, but probably wrong. But I don't think he asked for it. But I think he's gotten them before. I think when he had that, you know, like had to take the hiatus after the choking Rudy Gobert and punching Nurkic. I think when he went to that facility and escaped and got away, I think he flew a private jet that Lacob hooked up for him.
I think that is exactly how they would do it. You know, I think that it would be a very specific, if he just came out like, I want to have a flight to Denver, no way. But if he is going out to visit Steph in the Olympics, if, you know, like some behind the scenes thing, some very specific thing, I think for sure they would give it to him. All right, final question. Well, Steph wouldn't ask, they'd give it to him. That's it. I mean, I think it's a pretty straightforward thing. All right. One of us, boys, would any of us ask for a private flight? Assume that we're good enough. Okay. We've got Steph's skill set. Would we come out and be like, you know, wouldn't mind some catered flight action here?
MT, no. Bram, absolutely.
I don't know if you had to add fucking MT. I said just pick one. I mean, you could have kept your guess on fucking Marcus a little bit more of a mystery.
That was going to be my exact answer. Maxime, no. Bram, 1,000% yes.
Shocking. I would not ask to. So here's what I'd want. I would want it, and I would feel entitled to it, but I'd want them to give it to me. And if they didn't, if no one was like, hey, you should take this private plane, I'd be hella pissy for the rest of the time, and no one would even know why. You know, it'd be like even like a worse thing. Like, ask me how I'm doing. I'm like, you know, they would not know because I had not made it clear to anybody.
I can't talk. I have to check in for my flight.
Yeah, it's weird. I'm so cramped in here. It just sucks.
Sorry, I have to order this Uber to the airport. I can't talk to you.
Waymo, please.
I'm not going around in a circle. Who's your guys, Chris Mills?
Well, so in the Minnesota game, I'm giving it to Rudy Gobert. I'll not bury the lead here, but I'll tell you why. Rudy Gobert, we know he's a fantastic defensive player. We also know that he's a bit of a pain in the ass on the off the court, right? But I think it's sort of undersold how much of a pain in the ass he is actually on the court, on the offensive end. And so I absolutely loved the comedic value of an in particular play where he just decided, oh, I'm good enough to do this move right here. And so rather than continue to explain to you guys what that actually is, I'm going to share it with all of us. Here is Rudy Gobert doing some offensive magic. Woo! Wasn't playing. So here we go.
Back to Edwards.
One more time.
Kevon Looney comes into the game for the Golden State Warriors.
DiVincenzo. Pass inside. And then Gobert tried to go behind his back to Edwards.
I cannot believe that he had the gall to just pass it that poorly into the middle of nowhere. And I watched that clip like 10 times in a row because it made me laugh out loud when I watched it live, and it continues to make me laugh out loud every time I see it.
The confidence in which he threw it too. He was like, "Oh, I'm about to dime him up." Right?
Yeah.
It's just a terrible pass.
That's so awesome.
That is not in your skill set, Rudy. You're a lot of things. That behind the back passer is not one of them.
I feel bad for Gobert.
Yeah, I think that's a good choice. Probably my runner-up now that I've seen that clip. I'm going to stay on the same team and go with a different player. I'm going to go with Ant Edwards.
Hey, gentlemen, Kylie's feeling real sick. I gotta pull off air. If you got, go ahead and finish this one out for me if you can.
All right. Feel better, Kylie.
Feel better, Kylie.
Back. Sorry.
Yeah, so I'm going to go with Ant Edwards. I think, he's still a young player and finding his voice in the team and his lane in the league. But it's multiple times now he's come out in the press after a game and talk trash about his own teammates, saying, most recently the starting five, their starting unit is terrible and they're not really good and we're horrible. And I realize he's part of it, so he's talking about himself and including himself. But to me, those are just conversations and comments you keep in-house. You don't continually do it. I think the first time he did it, it sparked a little run and they, started playing better. So he probably thought, oh, I need to do it again. But I think he's already hit the limit of how many times he should do that.
Yeah, agreed. And I feel like there was a quote that he gave in some post game when he's sitting in front of his locker about how, guys should stop double teaming him because it's not as fun and he has to pass the ball out. And like that, again, that's the same energy. Like, have that conversation amongst the team. Like, the best players are proud to get double teamed because it means that they are excellent players. So I don't know why he's got to air all this shit out. And did you see that he's by far the most fined player in the league this year by a factor of 3?
I mean, he's over there just flipping off refs and doing all type of, swearing in post game interviews. Like, a lot of that is self-inflicted, but they'd like him to be the face of the league, but it feels like he's going down the path of the challenges of them trying to make John Morant the face of the league too.
Yeah, the only explanation that I could give that would make any sense is that Adidas is actually like, hey, go for it. We'll pay all your fines. Like, this is a great image for us, It's sort of like a counterculture to the Nike foothold. So I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah. Cool.
We lost Bram, but I think we should still do the Where's Waldo because there's some pretty great content here. Do you have anything specific, or should we jump into Gary Payton's antics?
Yeah, let's jump right into Gary Payton. I think those are too good to bury the lead there.
So I'm sure we all saw this. So let's hear from the man himself as he does some tomfoolery. Let me pull this up.
You ready? You ready? Yep. What y'all going to do? Middle. He told you something. He may be lying. How you know he's not lying? Why would I do that? Okay, all right.
GP2 mic'd up.
He said, Jordan pulled the burden of proof is on you. And they didn't see me do it. How do you know I did it? He's a smooth criminal. Criminal.
Well, one thing, Kalena's doing his best job to be on the Chris Mills Award for that.
Yeah.
Michael Jackson impersonation, but
He took a clip that is just gold across the board, just gold, between GP2 being willing to cheat, reach down and untie Jordan Poole's shoes, and then knowing that he's mic'd up, because that's how they got that. It's a mic'd up segment. Knowing that he's mic'd up, still went up to the ref and be like, he's lying, which is just fucking gold across the board.
how do you know he's not lying?
That Kalena decided to ruin that with an impromptu Michael Jackson impersonation is almost unforgivable. And it's reason number 5,000. Someone needs to rescue Azubuike from that Fitzgerald mentorship. Like that, it's not an okay thing, but I agree with this. Where's Waldo? What an incredible fucking just interaction. Everything about it makes me love GP2 even more than I already did.
Exactly.
Well, he knows he's mic'd up, right? Like, there's no question that he's not like getting away with something here. I'm sure he's very clear on what he's doing, and it's like he probably wouldn't do this to anybody. He's doing this to Jordan Poole because they're obviously still very good friends. I just think the whole interaction is hilarious. That he's in front of millions of people on TV saying to the ref, like, "Come on, like this." Of course, I didn't. Like, I'm not a child. It's just so funny.
Even Jordan's reaction, like he was like, "Ugh." Like he did the kind of thing that you would do with like if a little brother kept doing like over and over. It's like, again, dude, again with the fucking shoelaces. Like how many times are you going to do this?
Did this 10 times in practice when I was here. Like,
I told you I hate it when you do this.
Exactly. Yeah, such a good one.
I'll give you one more Where's Waldo, and then we should get out of here. But it's not breaking news, and I've decided, we can do this as a glass half full. The Where's Waldo I spotted was that the Warriors are, I believe, 11-0. It's either 10-0 or 11-0 whenever Buddy Hield goes for 18 or more points. And so glass half empty, it underlines what the hell happened to Buddy Hield. Then he went through this entire cycle, but glass half full shows how close the Warriors are. I mean, not breaking news. They need a second reliable scorer. But is breaking news, when they have it, they're still pretty damn good. 10-0, last time I checked, is a fairly solid winning percentage. So, I don't know how they're going to get that scoring. I know that we can't rely on Hield, but it's at least worth pointing out, that when it happens, they're still successful.
Yeah, it makes me feel bad. Like all the 76ers, Sacramento, Pacers, all the teams, Pelicans, all the teams that Hield played for. When we first started out super hot and we were like, this is so different. Buddy Hield, they're like, Buddy Hield does this. He starts off great and then he goes into an immediate slump for the rest of the season. And we were like, not with us. So sorry you had that experience, but we are going to have prime Hield for the whole season. And then after the 11th game, he started falling off. And here we are just commiserating with that fan base. And they're giving us the I told you so nod. And all of you can just shut up because
it's like moving into a haunted house and your first month is great. And everyone else who's lived there is like, you heard any noises? It's like, no, dude, it's fantastic. Love the neighborhood. Everything's great here. And then shit starts floating around. You start hearing bumps in the night and, all the problems they told you about that's exactly what's going down. And here we are. All right, boys, why don't, if we haven't already, why don't we fire off a underdog read and then call it a night?
Cool. All right. Huddle listeners, have you heard of Underdog? It is the best place to cash in on your sports knowledge while watching all sports, including the NFL and college football playoffs and the NBA. With more than 5 million happy players on board and $2 billion in winnings so far, Underdog makes it fun and easy to win money on all your favorite athletes' performances. With Underdog's Pick'em game, you compete against other players just by selecting higher or lower on 2 or more player stats. No complicated money lines, no need to understand the point spread or have any knowledge on sports gambling. You just need to have an opinion on how a player is going to do in the game. For example, if you think Schroeder, will go off tonight with Steph on the sidelines and score more than 15, or that Draymond will take up the slack and get more than 8 boards. You make those picks. And if you're right, you could win up to 1,000 times your money. They also save you from the worst thing in fantasy sports. With the Underdog Rescues option, you can get your money back and receive a promo if an early injury causes your pick to lose. Really, really love that part. Bram talks about all the time how his fantasy basketball team gets hits with injuries, and Maxime and I can't turn off those text messages fast enough. But that's the type of thing that would normally, ruin somebody's day or week. But instead, with this Underdog Rescues option, it allows you to focus on what you're playing, and you can just play daily with Underdog. Even make a little money and have a great time. Underdog is definitely the best way to play Pick'em. So download the app, sign up for the promo code WHP, that's Warriors Huddle Podcast, and deposit now to get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly. That's the promo code WHP, as in Warriors Huddle Podcast. Must be 18 years or older, 19 years or older in Alabama and Nebraska, 19 years or older in Colorado for some games, 21 years or older in Massachusetts and Arizona, and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply, void in Colorado for some games. Concerned with your play, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369.
Boom. Let's give credit where it's due. Credit one to MT. In fact, putting it all together. So in the course of this, when I disappeared, my 9-year-old got real sick, is feeling a little bit better now. But as a result, I disappeared, and we had to throw that ad read to Marcus without getting a chance to go through it. And he landed the plane, dude. We ended up getting there. So nicely played by MT. Shout out to Underdog. He was right. The hoop season is fucking broken because of all the injuries. It's made me hate everyone in my league. But the only solace I have is when I go to Underdog and win there. And then I'm like, shake my fist at the people in my league. Like, see, I'm still a winner, which is a sad but true story. With that in mind, anyone out there who needs more Huddle in their life, we're on social media all over the place. We are also on YouTube, where you can find this show and all the other ones. Maxime is doing great stuff there. Want to get us an email? Let us know we've done a good take, bad take, any take. You can send that email to
huddle@warriorshuddle.com.
That in mind. Go Warriors. I'm going to go back to being a dad, and hopefully we'll see you guys real soon.